The all-important meeting, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has already begun with the chief ministers of states on coronavirus situation in the country. India Today has got some exclusive inside scoop on the meet, which is currently underway with chief ministers of various states. Sources told India Today that Prime Minister Modi seeks suggestions from chief ministers over the lockdown implementation, containment status and possible strategy after 3rd of May. What's the roadmap ahead of 3rd of May? All of this is being discussed. India Today gets some exclusive shots from inside the meet. As per sources, chief ministers will also brief Prime Minister Modi on the ground reality and suggest whether the lockdown should be lifted phase-wise. States are also expected to raise their concerns with Prime Minister Modi. This will be the first or, in fact, fourth such meeting ever since the lockdown was imposed in March. Several concerns each of the states will be putting forth before the Prime Minister. Of course, the main focus is to bring back economy to its feet, while at the same time saving lives. Here, Prime Minister Modi having a meeting, all-important meeting. There are chief ministers of multiple states present at the meeting currently, discussing several ways on how to bring back the economy to stability while at the same time ensuring that lives are saved. Here we're looking at the meeting currently underway. India Today has got some exclusive shots, exclusive images with respective chief ministers along with the Prime Minister. Several issues that will be discussed. Prime Minister Modi, of course, as well as the state chief ministers will have to discuss on crucial issues on how to bring back to track the shrinking economy. This comes just at a time when the 40-day nationwide lockdown is nearly completing. This is a high-level meet which is expected to discuss lives over livelihood. And of course, lockdown will remain in several areas which is declared as red zones, but otherwise areas that are relatively in terms of number of positive cases, it's okay to ease those restrictions. It seems like a decision will be made to lift restrictions in a staggered manner. But yet a decision has to be announced by the Prime Minister himself. These are expectations that we have from this meeting, and that's exactly what chief ministers also are tabling before the Prime Minister on how to ensure the lockdown is lifted in a staggered manner in multiple areas which are known as green and orange zones, while the red zones continue to have strict vigilance. Let's quickly go over to Rahul Srivastav joining us live for more on this. Rahul, this is an all-important meet where chief ministers are discussing lives over livelihood. This is the time when the economy is going to be discussed, how to bring back the economy to track and at the same time ensure that this virus does not spread.
Yes, the governments, the central government and the state government face an extremely tricky situation. On one hand, there is a very little flattening of the curve, which there is an assessment by 16th might be visible as far as the COVID-19 spread is concerned. On the other hand, is the mounting cost of the economic cost and the social cost of the lockdown. And that is why the decision for life after lockdown 2.0 is going to be an extremely tricky one. The Prime Minister in this meeting with the Chief Minister is going to take the assessment of the Chief Ministers in terms of the preparations on the ground situation which is prevailing, what kind of measures have been taken for future, and also all the restriction easing which was announced on the 20th of April, how effective they have been in terms of implementation. I think all these elements will be discussed. We are told that nearly 9 to 10 chief ministers may be making a presentation in this video conference with the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister eventually will be taking a final call closer to the end of the deadline for lockdown 2.0. What we are being told that given the fact that though the centre had announced a lockdown till May 3rd, several states went ahead and extended the lockdown period, some till 8, some till 9, 10. And states are taking a lot of individual decisions also in terms of how to contain lockdown zones. Say, for example, Noida, Delhi, the Uttar Pradesh government has sealed the borders of Noida with Delhi because there is a fear that there is an assessment that most of the cases in Noida came from contacts in Delhi. In Tamil Nadu, we have found that the highway with Andhra Pradesh has been blocked with a wall. Now, these are state-level decisions already being taken, and that is why how to deal with hotspots which are requiring high degree of social distancing protocols, containment and others, and those who are in the green zone in terms that they have not reported a case over a period of time, say 1 month. How exactly to create a balance between these and livelihood and lives is the decision, which is a tricky one, but which has to be taken after this meeting.
Rahul, we do know that several states are also going to be putting forth their expectations for financial support because there's barely any revenue that has been earned by respective states, and this is a time when states are struggling independently. They want financial aid. Do you think that's also going to be on the agenda?
You see, there is a broader feedback taking which is going to happen. The Prime Minister will be apprised by the Chief Ministers that there is a high degree of distress. The Cabinet Secretary, in fact, has been in regular contact with the State Chief Secretaries in terms of what kind of crisis is unfolding as far as the economics of the states down, in terms of the diesel sales, fuel sales are down, liquor sales are down, which are the main source of revenue. Retail sales are down, so the GST collection may be low. So a lot of dues are to be paid to the state. There has been an attempt by the centre to address the situation. The centre has been working on an economic package, which is called a fiscal relief package. But the fact is that that package cannot be announced at a time when there is still no flattening of the curve. If the curve doesn't really get flattened, if people don't adhere to the lockdowns very well, and there is this steady rise in the number of cases, there is no point in releasing a package because there will be no takers for it. As we already know that the April 20 easing of restrictions, which are announced by the Home Ministry with a lot of guidelines, that really hasn't had an impact on the ground, that only 25% of the targeted economic entities really took off on the ground. And that perhaps remains a concern, that if the government fires a rocket in terms of a booster shot for the economy and the ground situation in terms of COVID spread is terrible, then it will actually be a wasted fire. And that is why the centre will have to take a very tricky decision. Yes, there is already politics happening over this issue in terms of the state finances. A lot of state chief finance ministers, political party opposition leaders, and academicians are right now having a parallel video conference to focus on the economic distress which is being faced by the state. And that is why now the issue is between the state and the centre. And that is why it is expected that in the next decision after May 3rd, the states will have a greater role in terms of what next than what say, for example, the first time around was when the Prime Minister issued a national lockdown order. And that is why what one feels that there might be an extension to the lockdown, but it will not be as complete or as overarching as it was the first time around. States will be allowed a great amount of federal flexibility to take their own decisions in terms of containment and easing of restrictions.
This is a collective effort. They've got to work in cognizance with all parties here. We're looking at the states struggling independently. Prime Minister taking a call on an extension or not, and if at all, then what are those areas that will be extended? Red zones is expected to have an extension, while other areas might have staggered exemptions from this lockdown.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.